A key note for me is when I watch Auburn, when they start throwing out layups for threes, that's when you know things are going well. And they've done that over the last 12 games, all wins. That's a telling sign for me that they're playing with some swag, with some confidence, and that all comes from their coach. They feed off Bruce Pearl. He gives them a ton of leverage as far as on the offensive end. I just wonder, are they going to try to shoot quickly? Because it's going to be a low possession game. Do they change their MO? That's something I'm going to be watching out for.
Virginia's got the better guard attack. You're throwing Kihei Clark there. Now, he's not as good as those guys, but with Virginia, between Hunter, Kyle Guy, and Ty Jerome, that's 3 of the 5 best players in the Final Four. So, no.
Hunter's not a guard.
I know, but I'm still 3 of the top 5 players. But if you want to throw Jerome in there, Kyle Guy, that's 2 of the top 5, even still. I think both those guys are better than – listen, Bryce Brown's a lot of fun. Really fun. He's got that swag about him. But I think if Kyle Guy – he's got that beautiful stroke. He finally found something in the second half of the Purdue win. If he shows up, shoots well, it changes the dynamic of Virginia's offense because he has endless confidence. Jerome is such a nifty player. He can score. We talk about players that can score at all 3 levels. I feel like with Ty Jerome, when you watch him play, there are 6 levels to how he can score and get buckets on the floor. Great player at both ends of the floor, but this guy right here, Kyle Guy, to me, he's the most important player for Virginia in this game against Auburn. If he comes out, if we open up and we see it's a 16-8 lead for Virginia and Kyle Guy is responsible for 9 of those points, I think that dictates how this game is going to go and could be the key thing to Virginia not only winning, but winning easily.
Will there be a direct correlation in terms of who outscores the other duo? Because we saw Bryce Brown, Jared Harper score 50 combined. So if we say Kyle Guy and Ty Jerome outscore Jared Harper and Bryce Brown, does that result
Virginia
in a
wins
win?
this game by 20. If Auburn doesn't win the backcourt battle, they have no chance in this game.
I would agree.
So both these guys, there's a lot of pressure on them to go out there and perform, and they did. They stepped up. I mean, Harper was so good in overtime against Kentucky. I love the fact they beat Kentucky without making 14 threes, which I thought they were going to have to do.
Yeah.
Their defense has been underrated. They had some massive blocks against North Carolina, block dunks, and then the last possession against Kentucky. You know it. Everyone knows that P.J. Washington was going to get the ball there, and they stopped them not once but twice. I think their defense goes underrated, and the fact is they should have lost to New Mexico State. You and I were watching that game. There's almost a sense of like, well, no one's believing with us. They play with this carefree confidence. I wouldn't be surprised they won this game.
Let's slow it down, because that's what is going to happen in this game. Slow it down, molasses slow. Virginia ranked 353 out of 353 Division I teams in tempo, according to Ken Palm. And we heard Bruce Pearl say earlier in the week, if we are going to beat Virginia, we have to beat them at their style of play. Matt, when you take a look at what Virginia does so well and they slow you down, how can they beat this Auburn team that likes to keep things fast? How are they going to dictate the tempo in this game?
By their very nature, you see these numbers on the screen, great new age metrics. This is why HQ is going to give you the best stats and info that you want, because this is going to be an indication of how the game's going to be played out here. That adjusted efficiency margin, it's not just the tempo where you see 353. That means Virginia's the slowest team in college basketball by its choice, but it's efficiency margin. So it's not only slow, it's extremely good at getting the points it wants to by 2, by 3. Bruce Pearl has already said, I know that we cannot change what Virginia is going to do. We cannot make them run faster than they want to run. Virginia will grind you out on defense because you're going to try and get those shots, try and get the one-on-one battles, the wins there. It is so difficult. And then when they have the ball, they're going to wait to get the absolute right shot. They only have 60 possessions per game, but they're scoring north of 70. That's how good they can be against elite opponents. More than 1 point per possession is huge. And if you want to take one more big picture look at what's happening here, I'll promise you, if Auburn cannot average at least 1 point per possession in this game, it doesn't have a chance to win.
Turnovers. It's going to be a story for Auburn. I think they need to keep the turnovers in the 7 to 9 range, and they have had single-digit turnover games this tournament. They have to value their possessions because this game is going to be played at a slower rate. I'm really watching out for how many quick shots they take because that is in their DNA to go down the floor and take quick shots, but they have to take good care of the basketball. The pack line defense does force you into angles, into places you don't want to go, but it's not a pressure defense. So you're able to move the ball side to side. Right. You can't have bad turnovers, meaning turnovers that lead to easy buckets if you're Virginia. And Auburn, I think they have the advantage, where Matt and I disagree, in the backcourt. But the backcourt is going to have to be ultra, ultra special for the Tigers if they're going to win this game.
And we know that Auburn is not at full strength. And even you talk about Jared Harper and Bryce Brown, they're dealing with some flu-like symptoms that Bruce Pearl said they'll be okay to play tonight. But the big story here is no Chuma Okeke for Auburn. What's the impact of that for the Tigers?
You know, how will a few days worth of removal of the intensity of that Sweet 16 Elite Eight, I think it makes a difference because Bruce Pearl told me throughout the season Chuma was their best player. I think Bryce Brown is the most entertaining player. Jared Harper maybe the most important player. But Chuma Okeke, what he brought to the court and to the locker room, which will still be there to a certain extent, was extremely valuable. I think not having him makes a difference. If he was on the floor, I would give Auburn a better chance at covering. I still would take Virginia to win. But you take a player, he's got a lot of dynamism to his game. When he's not in there, it makes them all the more one-dimensional, makes them smaller, less reliable from deep and from on the interior. I think it's a big-time deal.
Yeah, the guys are going to be McLemore, Wiley, Purifoy, Spencer. Those are the guys that are going to have to step up in his place. But if I'm Bruce Pearl, you got to go wheelchair again. You got to, like, roll him out there, and maybe he, like, rises from the wheelchair, and you get, like, that momentum. You know, like preachers, like, place guys in the crowd, and they, like, touch their head, and then all of a sudden, like, they're cured of everything. Chuma Okeke may have that power. If I'm Bruce Pearl, what, you think Bruce Pearl's against that? He painted his chest at a Tennessee game. You're going to watch Chuma Okeke all of a sudden, like, rise up out of the wheelchair, and all of a sudden Auburn goes crazy.
Is Chuma even here at the tournament?
Oh, yeah, no,
okay.
He's going to be here. By the way, this is 2 straight Final Fours with a wheelchair because we had Sister Jean last year, so we might be developing a trend here.
You went Sister Jean there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sister Jean, God bless you. She was great. She was great. All right, so Sister Jean stepped up for Loyola Chicago. Who needs to step up for each team, Auburn, Virginia?
For me, it's Austin Wiley. So you're talking about a guy who still, if he could get his act together, might make an NBA roster one day. He has not been a big-time minutes getter, hasn't been an impact player for Auburn in this tournament. And I'm not saying that Austin Wiley needs to get out there, somehow give Bruce Pearl 26 minutes and wind up with 16 points and 9 boards. But can you be a little more consistent because they need his size, battling whether it will be with Jack Salt. See how much Virginia puts Jay Huff on the floor. He's a 7'1" dude who can step out and shoot. I'm interested to see what he can do. I think Wiley will be a pretty big factor in keeping this game close because, again, his size, 6'11", good natural talent. How can he get really involved in the mix there?
How good has Diakite been for Virginia? You know, because you knew what Guy and Jerome and Hunter are going to give you every single game, but he not only is blocking shots and rebounding, he's scoring. Because it was basically like, all right, you got to somehow contain this big three, but Diakite makes the huge shot against Purdue, sends that game into overtime. He's playing with a confidence and a swagger from an offensive standpoint that we haven't seen all year, and Tony Bennett was so wise, like such a strategic move getting him in the starting lineup. And look, he looks like he's 10 years old. I mean, his upside.
Yeah, now he's got the blonde hair.
It's even growth,
right.
Like facial hair, because he's still like getting better every single day. He's getting better like every single minute. And if he goes out there and has another performance like this, because the clear edge, you could argue about the backcourts, but the clear edge Virginia has is in the front court. So if they could dominate the front court, well then, they don't necessarily have to dominate the backcourt battle. The front court players are clearly better for Virginia.
Diakite has been as loose and positive, uplifting here in the past few days just to kind of take you inside the city and the Final Four in the stadium. Diakite has really been driving a lot of that feel-good vibe with Virginia. Tim's hitting on something. I think that he is going to have a pretty impressive night here. I think he'll be a big factor.
And get this, the Cavs are 19-0 when Diakite reaches double figures in scoring. I love that stat, right? Love it. So he gets double figures. They go to 20-0. They get the national championship. Perhaps they win their first title in school history. All right, Matt, you've spent time with these coaches. Take me inside the coaching matchup. 2 very different personalities in Bruce Pearl and Tony Bennett.
Extremely, I don't know if we can get more different than these two guys. Tony Bennett, calm, resolved. The fact that he's no longer wearing a tie becomes like a storyline in Charlottesville. He's able to ditch the tie and go open collar there. Meanwhile, Bruce Pearl, the over-under on him sweating through his jacket, I'm going to say is about the 9-minute mark of the first half. Keep an eye on that. Bruce Pearl, so intense, so fiery. Bennett, cool, calm. But I will tell you this, in talking with both these coaches and a lot of guys within the coaching fraternity over the past few days, they're aberrational in this respect. There are so many responsibilities these coaches have once you get that head gig job, right? So there's little stuff that you do as an assistant that you kind of push to the side once you get to run the business, okay? But Bennett and Pearl are video fiends. They scout and work like assistant coaches. Like Bruce Pearl will know every single tendency of what Virginia does better than any assistant coach that he's got on his staff, and that's not consistent. It's just Bruce Pearl's work ethic. So what I think we will get here, I'd be surprised personally, although the game will probably be relatively low scoring. If you really watch the game, keep an eye on the matchup, keep an eye on the flow of the game, get inside that coaching matchup, it's going to be well coached. Maybe they might not shoot well from three, but you're not going to see guys out of position there. I don't think you'll see a game that kind of gets out of hand. I don't think the officiating is going to be problematic. They are so well prepared in that regard. And then from the outside, it looks like they're very different, from specifically in how they prep. They're pretty similar.
Tony Bennett's the guy that shoved you out of the way, which we've seen that. It's epic. You and him are pretty close in terms of characteristics. Calm, collected, and then Tim is like the Bruce Pearl of CBS Sports HQ. Like, just no. Like all the facial expression. Like, we've got like the two coaches right here on the set. Like, why is Bruce Pearl so animated? Why do you think he's so into the game? What does he get out of his kids?
I think that's his style and his philosophy. Everyone's going to have different styles, right? I mean, your information is as good as anyone's. And the fact that I've been through the wars of playing in the Big East and the Big Ten, I think we each bring something unique to the table. But Bruce is able to instill confidence. Like, I played for Mike Jarvis at St. John's. He never gave me any confidence when I was on the floor. So that's why I transferred. I go to Northwestern. Bill Carmody, his style of play allowed me to kind of highlight my strengths. That's what Bruce does. He finds your strength, and he's like, all right, here's what we need to do. We got to get Jared Harper in pick and rolls. Bryce Brown, you're going to take some bad shots, but that's okay. We're going to live with that because you have the ability to go out there and make 7 threes in a game. I think both of these guys getting to a Final Four puts them on another pedestal. Obviously, Tony had never been there, but you start looking back at Bruce Pearl's accomplishments. Won a Division II national championship. Year before he lost in the finals.
Yeah.
Okay? Then everywhere he has gone, like his style or not, investigations or not, the guy wins. He won at Milwaukee. He went to Tennessee. He won there. He's gone down to Auburn, and it's the most successful 3-year run in the history of Auburn basketball. So you may not like his style. He may be too sweaty for you. But as far as a coach, the guy can go out there and flat-out coach.
Real quick, I spoke with someone who has been on a previous staff with Pearl, and he echoed that just in terms of his work ethic and his – like what he has in him in terms of being a basketball coach, a college basketball coach, is undeniable. So that's why there are some that are not surprised that he has finally made a Final Four. It seems like Auburn getting here is a shock.
Yeah.
But like given his style, it was something of an inevitability, the same way it was with Tony Bennett.
Yep. Bruce Pearl's won a Division II national championship. Perhaps he'll win a Division I national championship. He's got to get through Virginia on this night. That game coming your way just after 6 p.m. Eastern time on CBS.